Welcome to Grandma Magic, a podcast from the Grandmother Collective. We are a nonprofit organization that supports and advocates for a world where a grandmother's power is seen, cultivated, and activated for positive change. The Grandma Magic podcast is an opportunity to learn more about the unique positions that grandmothers, aunties, and other older women around the world can play in advancing positive social development by talking to and learning from grandmother changemakers. We hope this series inspires you, brings you joy, and helps you recognize the enduring magic and wisdom that comes from grandmothers everywhere. My name is Lindsay Farrell, and I'm your host. Today, we're talking with Rustica Tembele, the co-founder of Tap Elderly Women's Wisdom for Youth, or TEWWY, an organization operating out of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, which focuses on supporting the mental health of young people by engaging older women as mentors and coaches. Rustica had a career in Tanzania's civil service before turning to this very important work, and today we will learn about some of the challenges and opportunities for engaging older adults in Tanzania. Rustica, asante sana for joining us today.
Thank you.
So Rustica, one of the roles that we know that older women really play in society is as culture holders and culture bearers. And so one of the things that we talk about a lot at the Grandmother Collective is the rituals or traditions that older women find really important to pass down. And I wonder if you wanted to maybe share something that is important to you that you really want to make sure the next generation continues.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Yeah, like other countries, in Tanzania, there are rituals or traditions that we followed when we were growing up. Like, for example, in the past, it was forbidden or prohibited, for example. If you find somebody with physical ability, you don't laugh at them. And if you do, some things really did happen. You won't believe it, might not be true. But I remember one woman laughed at a young man who had winking problem. His eyes were, sort of winking. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, continuously. So she laughed at him and said, "Hey, my God, stop staring at me. Why are you winking? I don't like that." And then, of course, the young man didn't say anything. But honestly speaking, not less than a year or a year after, she gave birth to a child with winking eyes. So whether you can believe this or you cannot believe this, but it happened. And it's my colleague in the office told me he saw this in the region where he comes from. So we are saying that we should never, ever laugh at people. After all, the way one is created is the way he's created or she's created. So why should you laugh at somebody? And this example shows that our traditional communities had values which protected the dignity and respect of individuals. Now, if you find somebody on the street, hey, look at him, look at her. Oh my God, I would like the young generation to respect other people's dignity and respect individuals and especially in the creation, one is born like that. You cannot do anything with the way you've been created. So we just encourage people not to laugh at people. So this, I find it to be very important to be passed on to our young generation because, well, as you see, we've moved in the cities and so much has been lost, etc. But also, our traditional communities, Lizzie, lived in solidarity. A child was guided collectively by the community in the sense that every elder in that community was a gatekeeper of values and traditions. In that regard, a child was everyone else's child. In actual sense, there was no orphan in the community because of the cohesion and collective responsibility that existed then. What we are seeing today is a total breakdown of the social systems. The influence of, I would like to say, maybe it's the influence of social media, which has diverted the youth from the sustainability of the values of society, thus bringing them to short values. You see, I'm not even blaming the youth. I just remember when I was growing up, I grew up in the village with my grandmother. And say you're walking on the street, you make a mistake. An elder, an elder person will say, "Hey, Rustica, what do you think you are doing? You're not supposed to do that. he or she was right to be reprimanded by anybody in the village so that you come up with good culture and values. So a child was everyone else's child.
Right.
We didn't choose. So that for me is something that I would love to see it continuing. But now it doesn't, because after all, the parents have moved to the cities. So there's no that culture that keeps us together. And then also, traditional, we didn't have schools, modern schools. We had schools, but not modern schools. Knowledge and society life skills was shared by the elderly in the community. For example, through storytelling, grandmothers imparted knowledge and wisdom to the young generation. Sitting around the fire, you hear the stories, and it was just amazing. That men provided apprenticeship skills such as masonry, carpentry, blacksmith. They provided the knowledge in cattle rearing because that's what they do. Basically, this was done through coaching and mentoring the whole process, as opposed to imparting theoretical knowledge only. Now I can see that disappearing. There's a lot of theoretical knowledge, but less hand holding, less transferring skills to the young generation. I find that to be missing.
Yeah, learning through doing.
Yes.
Right.
And
Learning
that's
by
why you
modeling,
find
learning by spending time in the kitchen, learning by hanging out with your grandfather as he does his farming.
Yes. And that's why you find a lot of young people, when they finish, even they graduate from the university, they don't have jobs because they don't know anything what they learned from the books. If I think maybe the government will change the syllabus, because seriously speaking, you graduate and then you leave the university, you cannot depend on yourself. You wait for a job, with a job doesn't come. What do you do? So you find a lot of frustrations, mental health problems. You can't get a job, then hey, wow, you just get depressed and all that. So there are many rituals in Tanzania that I think if we could give it to our young generation, they would benefit a lot from that.
Rustica, tell me about your own background. I mean, a lot of people in our audience won't know the history of Tanzania and what the education system looks like, or even what the sort of economic situation is. Do you want to share a little bit about your own background and where you came from and how you've spent your career?
I was brought up in a village, but then I went to primary school, secondary school, and then university. I came to Dar es Salaam, to the city, University of Dar es Salaam. That's where I graduated. But when I graduated from the University of Dar es Salaam, we were offered, I mean, it was very easy to get a job. You are just offered in a civil service, you don't have to struggle like what the young people are doing now.
Was this like post-independence, 1960s, 70s? What era
Yes,
is this for you?
post 70s, yes.
Yeah. If you went to university in Tanzania in the 70s, you got a job.
I got a job. You get a job, you assigned a job, you go to that. For me, I was sent to the Institute of Adult Education as a tutor because my first degree is education. So I was a tutor at the Institute of Adult Education. But I was also trying to move and see whether there are other greener pastures. So there was an advertisement in the Ministry of Health, worked with the Department of Family Planning, and I got that job, and it was actually funded by, I think, by USAID or something. Actually, during my time is when we developed the Green Star, which is used to date for family planning. So I'm proud of that because I was part of designing the Green Star by visiting in communities, pre-testing what we had developed, etc. And then later on, I ended at Commission for AIDS, where I retired. After I retired, I served as a freelance consultant to the Open Society Initiatives for Eastern Africa, which is, I think, is a branch of the Open Society Foundation. I was working for OSEA, Health and Rights, supporting marginalized communities. Actually, I worked with the groups like LGBTQ, drug users, sex workers, and all that. I was supporting them. I was helping them to prepare proposals and submit to OSEA for funding and all that. And I was also mentoring them to do the work. Again, I said, oh, Rustica, I've retired. I cannot continue working for OSEA. I need to start something, looking at the situation in Tanzania. Actually, what prompted me is I didn't want to sit at home and wait to die. I said, no, I must do something. So I co-founded TAP Elder Women's Wisdom, which is an NGO, which was registered in 2018. I co-founded it with my daughter. And the aim of this NGO is, our focus rather is on mental health. So I am a co-founder and the executive director of this NGO, whereby we focus on mental health. You might want to ask, why did you want to focus on mental health in 2016, 2018? Why? Why mental health? Actually, I read the statistics from the WHO that according to WHO, Mental Health Atlas 2014 says more than 45% of the world population lives in a country where there is less than one psychiatrist for every 100,000 people. And there are even fewer neurologists. It's evident that relying solely on specialists to provide services for people affected by mental, neurological, and substance use disorders would prevent millions of people from accessing the services they need. So I said, yes, this is where I think we can come in. Like our mission is to bridge the intergenerational gap and to bridge the mental health treatment gap. Knowing that by then, when we started, actually asked one psychiatrist, how many psychiatrists are you in Tanzania? 50. In a population of, by then it was not 60 million, but now we are 60 above million. So I said, TEWWY, or Tap Elder Women's Wisdom for Youth, could provide this space before somebody gets really bad and they need psychiatric services. They could come to the elder women, get the wisdom, get the counseling, get the psychosocial interventions, which would help them to not reach the stage whereby they need a psychiatrist. So we just wanted to bridge the mental health treatment gap. So we said, we'll provide interpersonal counseling, and we adapted this from the IPC used to manage manifestations of distress due to common mental health disorders such as depression, anxiety, somatization, physical illness. But also we do group talk therapy facilitated by the WWCs. WWCs as the wisdom and wellness counselors, where members of a community connect, share wisdom, experience, and strengthen social support. Group therapy is a form of psychotherapy that aims to help people, including young people, manage mental health conditions or cope with negative experiences and behaviors. And also, we said these psychosocial interventions will also provide psychoeducation resources, which include information given verbally in a counseling session, written material in the form of psychology, tools, information, handouts, guides, exercises, or homework tasks where individuals are empowered through self-awareness. Actually, we were tired of seeing young people committing suicide because of one reason or the other. They were carrying burdens in their hearts. They didn't know where to go and release the burdens that they had. We said the women, the wisdom and wellness counselors would be the space for them to come and leave their burdens, talk to the women, use the wisdom, the elder women, get support. And seriously speaking, we can see the results of our work. Many people come to talk to us through the one-on-one or group talk therapy, and they get the treatment that they want because they are our big supporters also. They recognize us as a mental health stakeholder.
Rustica, I recall when I lived in East Africa, just north of you in Kenya, that young people who were struggling, or actually just anybody who was struggling with a mental health challenge, they often didn't have the language to say what was going on. So language around trauma, language around depression or anxiety was not part of the general way of kind of understanding emotions. And there was a lot of stigma around seeking mental health support. And I know Dixon Chibanda in Zimbabwe, who I know you're inspired by with the Friendship Bench, I know some of that work was really to take away the stigma and go to a community member or somebody in a social network who is seen as someone that you should be trusting, like an older woman. Is that the experience that you see in Tanzania? How are you navigating what I imagine are incredible stigmas around needing mental health support?
It's just recently, I think, we've started slowly talking about mental health, but we don't talk about it. It's surrounded with the stigma, and people don't even understand what it is. And actually, I remember a case whereby when we started in 2018, youth themselves feel that the huge gap between them and the elderly. There is nowhere that they can talk. They don't talk to anybody. They feel like there's no space for them. They cannot even talk with their parents. In the
Mhm,
first day of our work, we met some of the youth in Dar es Salaam, and they categorically indicated that they are not satisfied with the situation, that they are not capable of freely talking or speaking to their parents on different
mhm,
issues facing them. In
mhm,
this regard, TEWWY took this as a gap to be filled. So we decided to provide space for the young people so that they can freely air their issues related
mhm,
to mental health to our team, included abuse, difficult
mhm.
economic situation, because that is what you hear every day,
Right.
sexual relationship, matrimonial or family crisis, community crisis, etc. There's so many things that they're grappling with. So my experience is really trying to solve the problems that before young people, especially, didn't know where to send their issues, where to talk their issues to. But now they can talk to TEWWY, to tap elder women's wisdom. They trust the elder because there is confidentiality,
Mhm.
and they're more comfortable to talk to elderly people.
Yeah, we know that there is something about that. They call it a skip generation relationship, that you've skipped over your parents to a grandmother or an auntie, and that enables you to share in a different way. And I think maybe the judgment also of older women to children or youth is a bit more, maybe you tell me if I'm right, is a bit more empathetic, a bit more compassionate, less judgmental. When you've lived longer on the earth, you're able to have a wider perspective, perhaps.
Yeah, actually, when we met this group of young people, let me say maybe what they did. The ones who contributed to the questions that formed the basis of us. A very popular booklet in Tanzania now titled Frequently Asked Questions About Mental Health and Their
Mhm,
Responses or Answer. The young, I mean, they had trust in us. They were asking so many questions. You guys are talking about mental health. What is this mental health? If I've got this drug problem or what, who can I approach and be confident that my privacy will be respected? So the grandmothers are the ones, are the custodian of the secrets of young
mhm,
people. And the young people like to talk to elderly women because they feel they can protect them, they can give them the wisdom that they need so that they can thrive, they can continue
mhm.
to live.
I've definitely heard the secret keeper role before, and that doesn't seem
Mm.
to be specific to Tanzania, that it's a wider space that older women are expected and do hold the secrets of young people. Rustica, I wonder about your grandmothers or your elderly women that are a part of your group. Again, this language about mental health and what mental health is, I'm certain that you're having to bring them along on a journey to understand and learn about it. So, what are some
Mm.
of your approaches to helping your older women understand what is facing young people and the role that they can be playing?
When we said we are going to work with elder women, we said, what kind of women are we going to pick? They were from all walks of life, and they didn't know anything about mental health, to be honest. So they had first to be trained in psychosocial counseling because they didn't know anything about mental health. They know there is a problem, but then how do they deal with it? So they had to get training so that they can know how to go about in counseling people with the problems needing psychosocial support. So we just didn't put them to do this job of mental of counseling without being trained. They were well trained, and also we continue being mentored, including me, and being coached, including me, by the specialist from the government, from the medical center, because
Mhm.
that's where the experts are. But since the process of training them, supporting them in understanding how to counsel young people, how to counsel people in need. The elder women have really picked those skills, and I don't find any problems with them. Of course, when we started, there were 15 of them, those who got trained, but now we have less than 15. They drop out because it's a hard job. So we are remaining with 8 grandmothers. But these are very committed, and I'm not regretting that the others dropped, because sometimes I also feel like dropping out, getting out of this. But then I say, oh my God, I am the one who started. It gets very difficult sometimes if you don't get support. It becomes very difficult. And you feel like, honestly, we always say we are doing God's work. That's how, because when you're old, you say, oh my God, when I die, I want to leave something behind. We are doing God's work. It is difficult. So we are remaining with 8, but identify some like-minded grandmothers who are ready to provide this support to the young generation, to help the people and also other people. Because also in Tanzania, there's so many children are left alone, and you find youth become unguided missiles. I mean, there's so many problems that need the support of elder women.
I'm sure you also have a lot of mothers that need support. There's an unlimited amount of challenges that older women could take on beyond mental health support, I imagine. Hopefully you continue to inspire, and maybe perhaps other organizations arise to solve other challenges.
We work very closely with the organizations dealing with drug abuse, and we've trained them to do, at least within their organizations, to identify young people in need of support. We've got about 6 organizations that we are partnering with.
Yeah, the model itself is transferable, I'm sure, to other spaces and other issue areas. What I find really interesting is, from the very beginning of this conversation, you've been talking about acceptance and inclusion in ways that I think are really interesting, and often a counter narrative to what we understand of what older people think about youth. I've worked with young people for a long time, and there's so many stereotypes about youth, that they're lazy, or that they're violent, or they're crazy, or they're unpredictable. And somehow from the very first, you're really talking about accepting that there is challenges that young people are facing, and it's not inherent in who they are, but society and economic situation, or the urban life, or the fact that you have a very, very young population in Tanzania. So they are, what did you say, unguided missiles?
They call them unguided missiles.
Unguided missiles. Fascinating. What do you think has made it so that you have that perspective, that it's a non-judgmental perspective? Where do you think that comes from for you?
When I was working for the Institute of Adult Education, even the Tanzanian Commission for AIDS, I was saying, oh my God, how can somebody be like this also? I was also judgmental, to be honest. In Tanzania, the LGBTQ, they say it's not in our culture, it's not allowed. But they used to come to TACAIDS because they've got problems like HIV and AIDS, because they live in our communities. So they would come to TACAIDS, and the executive chair would say, Rustica, your people have come here. And then I said, yeah. And then, she'll tell me, your people have come here. So I tell them to come up. So they'd come up there, and they would start talking about their problems. And I just give an ear, listening to them. And then, oh my God, I say I need to change. But also my co-founder once told me one day, I remember, I'll never forget her. She said, Mom, who are you to judge others? Let God be the judge. Don't judge people and say, why is that one like that? Why is that one like that? Avoid doing that. Don't be judgmental. Stop doing that. I remember these words echo in my ears. Every now and then, they echo in my ears, that I should never be judgmental. After all, to judge others. So when I was working for time, it was so nice when my boss says, Rustica, your people have come. Get them. So they come upstairs, we would talk. They would talk about this. They would talk about they went to the mosque, and then they were being stigmatized, and they were being pointed fingers at. And then they were saying, please, can you do something? Because I've just come from the mosque. The chef of the mosque was saying, look, we don't want these people because they are, etc., etc. So can you do something about it? I said, that I cannot do. But try to play a low profile. In a place where these things are not allowed, please play a low profile. I cannot do that. Even if I'm working with, you come here and they said, come to me and talk to me, but I don't have the mandate to go and stop them from talking about what they're talking. So we became friends. And when I was working for OSEA, for example, I was called Mother of Diversity because I didn't care which young person came to me, from what background they come from. They called me Mother of Diversity. And yeah, I'm still called Mother of Diversity because that's what I'm doing. And I had an opportunity to talk through the radio, the National Radio TBC, Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation. And when you talk about mental health, you leave your phone there. I've been getting endless phone calls from all over the country because I left the telephone number. So they call me, oh, I have this problem. I've got this, I took a loan and now I've been, so many problems that they come and they tell me, they call me. And for some of the problems, if I'm not in other regions, so I link them to the mental health coordinators who are in those regions. Try to go and see this one. And I called the mental health coordinator, please, can you support this person has called me saying she or he has got these problems. Please help me to support them.
I asked you how you became non-judgmental, and then you told me a wonderful story about how you're the mother of diversity. I mean, it's beautiful. And I think it seems like a role that you grew for yourself by exposing yourself to a lot of different challenges. And it seems to me, Rustica, you're living your values.
Thank you. I think I am. But then I can say is also working for us. The mental health program that we have at one secondary school in Dar es Salaam is working in accordance to our expectations. The students now show an interest in learning more about mental health and how to arrest mental health problems when they arise. Such problems that students get include dealing with anxiety that comes during exams.
Yeah.
Thanks to the program, this is something they did not know before. Overall, all the teachers, there are 42 teachers, they were trained in mental health for 5 days by this expert from the Muhimbili. And the students also were trained. And we've got 15 mental health ambassadors in the school. And we see some changes. And even the teacher accepted that now beating students has reduced tremendously because instead of punishing the child, they follow the child closely and see his background and say, oh, why is he always coming late to school? Why is he always sleeping in the, why? Instead of punishing the child by beating, now they say they've reduced that. And even the students say beating is reduced a lot. We are about to finish this project, which was funded by Sony Music Group. And we started in June last year. We are finishing in May this year. And we are going to have called a stakeholders meeting and talk about the school, talk about the success of what we feel as success of the school, because I think this school is becoming a unique school. We are so proud that we have at least one secondary school to deal with, because anxiety or mental health problems started from 14 years to 17. Yeah.
One thing I think that people should know is the pressure to do well on a secondary school exam and find a way into university is very high in African countries where you have a really large youth population and not that many opportunities for economic advancement. So the pressures on young people start very early.
Yes.
Well, Rustica, what's so wonderful about that approach also is if you're teaching the teachers and you're teaching the students and you're teaching the older women, when you take on the role of helping people to name things and give them language and tools to talk about mental health challenges, then they will go on and they will teach others.
Yeah.
And so it has a ripple effect.
We've seen that recently because in Tanzania, our secondary education is from 1 to Form 4. And then after that, you go to A level. From 1 to Form 4 is ordinary level. And then Form 5 and 6 is A level. So that school has now received some students from a different secondary school. They came for A level. This girl just was surprised to see what is happening at the school. And what she heard from the friends, the colleagues at the school, she wanted to become one of the ambassadors, coming from a different school where we did not talk about mental health, not talk about anything, but she really wanted to join. We have a wellness club, actually. We supported them to start a wellness club, which is dealing with different things. So she wanted to join this club because she thought some good things were being done there. So it goes to others. It spreads very fast, like we call the summer fire. When you start fire during summer where the grass is dry,
Yeah.
it burns,
Yeah. You're burning quick like a summer fire. Well, Rustica, it's been really wonderful to connect and learn more about what you're doing and the very, very important role that older women can play in solving a really big challenge. So I thank you so much for being part of this podcast, but also for being a member of the Grandmother Collective. We're going to learn a lot from your work.
Thank you. I remember you asked one question also. Maybe I would love to answer that one. Ask about what have been some of the ways that growing up has changed for young people in Tanzania.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to that, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there is a lot that growing up has changed for young people in Tanzania today. Diminishing of collective communal care and support for young people. That has diminished, and therefore you leave children become unguided. The collective communal care is lacking. It has diminished. Negative influence of social media, internet, and globalization. You find now people being glued. Modernization, I'm not against modernization. I'm not against social media. I'm not against anything. But you find that you don't keep together. You find everybody busy with their phones, etc. So the togetherness is going away, doing their things. So the negative influence of social media, I'm sorry. Loss of knowledge about traditional roots and culture. Loss of identity due to parents shifting to the cities, urbanization. I come from a southern part of Tanzania. Now I'm in the city. My children have got no identity. They've lost their identity because I shifted from where I grew up. Now I'm in the city. That is a problem also because now, where do they belong? My children do not belong anywhere. If you ask, what tribe are you? Say, Mom, I never ask people about tribe. What is a tribe after all? They don't understand that. But for us, that was important because it was an identity, a clan identity or whatever. But also, yeah, there's a loss of self-identity, self-esteem, self-confidence, and also critical thinking. I feel they've lost that. That's what I think they're missing that. They're missing that a lot, yeah. But then there's nothing that we can do. But what you are doing, the grandmothers and the young people, this intergenerational linkage is really great because we will bridge the gap that exists between us and the young people. We are trying. We should try. Otherwise, they will be there alone, and us here alone. I don't know where we'll be going to. So we should try all ways to make us be with the young people, learn from them because they've got a lot of things that we can learn from, but also get from us at least the traditional cultures, etc., so that we are a country with culture, with identity.
What I find really interesting is that your generation that came up after independence and went to school and was that first generation to fill out the civil service and think about what an independent Tanzania could look like. You didn't know the pathways you were forging. You didn't know what it meant to move to the cities.
Yes.
You didn't know. So I think with some wisdom that comes from that experience, you're able to see what could be or what should be returned. Of course, you didn't know that your children weren't going to have identities.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was excited to be in the city, but then, oh my God, where do they belong now? They're Tanzanians.
So, Rustica, we talk a lot about systemic change at the Grandmother Collective, that we really believe that older women can fix some of the systems that have been broken. So what do you think that TEWWY is doing to change systems?
What TEWWY is trying to do or would like to do, advocate for scaling up of psychosocial interventions at the local government authorities through the wisdom and wellness counselors, that's the elder women, which is in line with the grandmother's role played in the past. So we are trying to advocate for the scaling up because we are just in Dar es Salaam. We would love to see what we are doing being scaled up, but also would like to advocate for scaling up of mental health program in schools in order to capture the in-school youth, since mental health problems are said to begin from the age 14. And also would like to conduct TV and radio shows to advocate for mental health agenda in the country. But you asked something, how do you grow the impact? Through the provision of evidence-based integrated mental health and social care services in communities, TEWWY's mental health programs contribute to the sustainable development goals through the means of health, such as SDG goals, such as goal 3 and 4, 3.5, 3.8, 3, goal 17.17, and goal 17.19.
17 is working together, right? Collaboration.
Okay, yes.
That's my very
yes.
favorite SDG.
I love it too.
Yeah, like we really do need to work together and
Yes.
take the examples of that school that you're working in and grow and scale so that everybody can experience it. So even though you have 8 grandmothers or 8 older
Yes.
women, your impact is much wider. It is about taking those samples and examples and helping others to see the directions that they could be taking.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, Rustica, I say this with full genuineness. I'm so delighted that you've joined our collective. We have so much to learn from you, and there's so much work to be done, so much hard work to be done. And hopefully others can see that too.
And I'm so excited to join the Grandmothers Collective because I feel we've got the same story to tell. Thank you so much, Lindsay. But you are very inspiring also. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I worked with youth for like 20 years, but I worked with youth for so many years. I love youth. They're so inspiring. They're just so full of energy and life, and having them as teachers is so awesome and amazing. But this work with older women, whoa, maybe it's my stage of life, but I feel so optimistic about the future, knowing that women's leadership, older women's leadership is out there trying to fix some of our really massive problems. It's been a really great ride doing this work.
Yeah, but you're still young.
Oh, no,
I'm not.
Yeah. No, I'm in the middle. Like something happens, I think, when you're 40. You start thinking, oh my gosh, what have I been doing with my life? Have I done enough? And now that I'm speaking with women like you, I think, oh, there's so much more to do. There's so much more life to live. What did you say? I'm not going to go home and die, wait to die.
No, I said I'm not going to sit down, wait to die.
Yeah.
I said I'm going out, because actually going out also helps me to meet people, and it's amazing. I get benefits. Elder women get benefits also.
Well, we know a key to longevity is that people have purpose. Like a key to living a long life, a long and healthy life, is purpose and social connection. Those are proven as important pieces of longevity. So very much the solution to have older women as leaders in community work is also for their benefit. It also builds a long life.
Yes.
Meaningful life. All right, Rustica, thank you so much. And I'm so delighted we finally connected in a really meaningful way.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Yes, you too.